Join me as I take on the challenge of breaking free from conventional thinking and embracing my own unique ideas. No permission needed. You've been sitting in the waiting room of life for too long, watching others walk through doors you know you were meant to walk through too. But every time you got up to move, something pulled you back down: fear, doubt, insecurity, the voice that said, "Who do you think you are?" And you believed it. You let that voice define your movement. You let the shadows talk you out of the light, and now you're stuck. But let me tell you the truth: you don't need permission to get up and walk in the direction of your purpose. You never did. The world has trained you to look for approval, trained you to seek validation. From the first time you raised your hand to speak, you were taught to wait to be chosen, taught to wait for permission, taught to ask, "Is it okay if I go now?" But let me ask you something deeper. What if no one ever says yes? What if no one ever gives you that nod of approval you've been waiting for? Does that mean you never move? Does that mean you live and die with the dream still locked inside you? Because that's what's happening to too many people right now. People with vision, people with brilliance, people with divine ideas that were never meant to die on the inside of them. But because they kept waiting to be picked, they never stepped. You've been equipped with a gift, and that gift doesn't need a committee to validate it. That gift doesn't need applause to be powerful. The moment you understand that, the game changes. You don't need someone to open the door for you. Sometimes you have to build your own door. You don't need to be given a seat at the table. Sometimes you have to bring your own chair, or better yet, build your own table. That's the power you've been given. But as long as you're sitting on it, waiting for someone else to see it, you'll never walk in it. You've been carrying dreams that haunt you at night, visions that keep tugging at your spirit, ideas that refuse to let you settle, and you keep saying, "I'm not ready. What if I fail? What if they laugh at me?" But let me ask you something. What if you don't go? What if you don't build it? What if you don't speak it? What if you don't try? Will you be able to live with that? Will you be able to face yourself in the mirror knowing that what was in you never came out because you were too afraid someone wouldn't approve? You don't need to feel ready to be ready. You don't need every detail to move. You don't need every answer to start. You just need to start, because clarity doesn't come before movement. It comes because of movement. Most people think confidence is a requirement for action, but confidence is a result of action. You get stronger by moving. You get wiser by trying. You get better by doing. But if you never begin, you never build. If you never step, you never grow. There are too many people with dreams that never saw the light of day, not because they lacked talent, not because they didn't have the tools, but because they were paralyzed by waiting. Waiting to be discovered, waiting to be encouraged, waiting for someone to believe in them more than they believed in themselves. But no one can want your purpose more than you. No one can chase your dream harder than you. And no one can unlock what's inside of you except you. You've been assigned to your purpose. And with that assignment comes authority, the authority to step out without waiting for a hand to pull you. You're not supposed to ask for permission to be who you already are. A lion doesn't ask the jungle if it's okay to roar. An eagle doesn't ask the sky for approval before it soars. You were made with intention. You were created with purpose, and purpose doesn't need permission, it needs action. It needs you to stop doubting the design, stop questioning the call, stop shrinking your dream to make other people comfortable. Because the truth is, your dream will always be too big for small minds. That's not your problem. That's not your weight to carry. Some people won't understand your calling, and they're not supposed to. It wasn't revealed to them. It was revealed to you. Stop trying to explain a God-sized vision to people who can't see past their own fears. Stop waiting for permission from people who have never done what you're trying to do. Stop asking people how to build a life they've never lived. You've got to stop renting your courage from others and start owning it for yourself. You were never called to play small. Playing small doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help the people assigned to your voice, your gift, your light. There are people who will never be free until you show up. There are lives that won't be changed until you move. There are generations waiting on the other side of your obedience, but you're still sitting there, worried about what they'll say. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them stare, but don't let them stop you. You've got to be okay with being misunderstood. You've got to be okay with walking alone. You've got to be okay with being the first in your family to break the cycle, the first in your circle to chase a dream. The first to rise, to lead, to believe differently. That's not a curse, that's a calling. That's not a burden, that's a blessing. But you can't carry it if you keep looking over your shoulder, waiting for someone to clap before you move. There's a freedom that comes when you stop needing permission, a power that awakens when you realize you don't need a title to be chosen. You don't need a following to have impact. You don't need a spotlight to walk in purpose. All you need is the decision to go. Go scared. Go unsure. Go without a map. Go without applause. But go. Don't confuse humility with hesitation. Being humble doesn't mean you hide. It means you serve. It means you build with character. It means you lead with heart. But it doesn't mean you bury your brilliance. It doesn't mean you silence your voice. It doesn't mean you deny your gift. The world doesn't need more people playing small. It needs people who are bold enough to say, I was born for this, and walk in it. You don't have to be the loudest in the room, but you do have to show up. You do have to do the work. You do have to stand for something. And the more you stand, the more you'll realize that the only permission you ever needed was the breath in your lungs and the fire in your soul. That's enough. That's more than enough. Stop waiting. Stop apologizing for wanting more. Stop shrinking to fit in places you've outgrown. You're not doing anyone a favor by staying small. Not your family, not your friends, not your community. You were born to rise, born to lead, born to change the temperature in the room, not just adapt to it. And that shift begins the moment you stop waiting and start walking. The moment you stand up and say, I'm going anyway. The moment you choose movement over fear. The moment you stop looking for someone to unlock the door and realize you are the key. Everything changes, not because the world said yes, but because you did. Not because the door opened for you, but because you decided to break the lock. Not because someone called your name, but because you answered the call inside your own chest. You've been waiting long enough. You've been playing small long enough. You've been asking for permission to be powerful long enough. But power was never something you had to be given. It's something you had to realize you already had. You've got the power. You've got the calling. You've got the anointing. All that's left is the action. And once you understand that, there's no going back. There's no shrinking. There's no settling. Because once you see your worth, you can't unsee it. Once you know your value, you can't unknow it. Once you taste the freedom of moving without permission, you'll never sit still again. You'll move in rooms where no one knows your name and still act like you belong. You'll step on stages no one said you could be on and deliver like you were made for it, because you were. This world will tell you to wait. Wait for your time. Wait until you're more polished. Wait until you have more experience. Wait until you're more qualified. But sometimes your time isn't something you wait for, it's something you declare. Sometimes you have to decide that now is the time, that your yes can't wait another year, that your dream can't sit on the shelf another day, that your future won't be delayed another minute, because permission is not what unlocks destiny. Obedience is, boldness is, faith is. And if you've got that, if you've got the courage to believe that what's inside of you matters, that your voice has weight, that your gift has purpose, then there's no limit to what you can build, no ceiling to how high you can rise, and no force strong enough to stop what's been divinely planted inside you. You just have to move. You just have to begin. You just have to stop asking for what you already possess and start living like it's already yours. Every time you second guess yourself, you rob the world of what only you can bring. Every moment you hesitate, you delay what was meant to change someone's life. You've got to stop looking at yourself through the lens of lack. You've got to stop measuring your worth by what you don't have, who didn't support you, or how many times you've fallen. You were never supposed to get permission from people who couldn't see the vision you were given. Their silence is not your signal to stop. Their absence is not your confirmation to quit. You have to get to a place where the fire inside of you is louder than the noise outside of you. Because you've already been chosen now, you've got to act like it. There's something dangerous about a person who no longer needs applause to keep going. There's something unstoppable about a soul that has made peace with being misunderstood. When you stop trying to convince people and start focusing on the call, everything shifts. You stop wasting time explaining what can only be experienced. You stop waiting for agreement and start walking in authority. The moment you understand that no one can do what you've been assigned to do, that's when the fear loses its grip. That's when the doubt starts to crumble, because now you're moving from a place of revelation, not reaction. And purpose rooted in revelation doesn't flinch when the crowd is quiet. You've got to break the addiction to approval. Break the habit of deferring to others when you already know what's in your spirit. You don't need another meeting to confirm what's already confirmed. You don't need another conference to stir up what's already alive in you. What you need is courage. Raw, unfiltered courage to stand in front of every excuse and say, "Not this time." Courage to confront the inner voice that says, "Who do you think you are?" With the truth, I know exactly who I am. You are the answer to a problem in the earth. You are the solution someone's been praying for. But if you stay quiet, if you stay seated, if you keep asking for permission, then that answer stays hidden. And maybe that's why life keeps shaking you. Maybe that's why doors keep closing, because you're being forced to build your own. Maybe the no's are not rejection, but redirection. A push from the heavens that says, "Stop waiting, start walking." You don't need a yes from them when you already got a yes from the one who made you. You don't need credentials when you've got calling. You don't need a platform when you've got a word. But too many people are trading their authority for applause, their power for permission, their calling for comfort. And then they wonder why they're frustrated, because you were never designed to live in a cage. You were meant to fly. Sometimes you've got to do it scared. Do it without a blueprint. Do it when no one claps, when no one believes, when no one shows up but you. Because those are the moments that build legacy, not when it's easy, not when the doors swing open, not when the crowd is cheering, but when it's hard, when it's lonely, when you've got nothing but your faith and your grind. That's where greatness is forged. That's where leaders are born. That's where real power is built. Not in comfort, not in convenience, but in commitment. And commitment means you don't quit when it gets heavy. It means you don't shrink when they talk. It means you don't fold just because it didn't happen on your timeline. You keep showing up. You keep building. You keep speaking. You keep writing. You keep serving. Even when it's quiet, even when it's slow, even when you're tired, because the breakthrough never comes to the ones who wait for permission. It comes to the ones who decide they're enough, even when no one says so. The truth is, most people won't understand your process. They won't see the cost. They won't feel the pressure. They won't carry the weight. But that's not your job. Your job is not to be understood. Your job is to be obedient. Your job is not to get everyone to clap. Your job is to keep moving, because obedience opens doors that applause never will. Consistency builds what talent alone can't sustain. And if you're consistent long enough, focused long enough, committed long enough, the same people who didn't believe in you will be the ones asking how you did it. But by then, it won't even matter, because you didn't do it for them. You didn't start because they approved, and you won't stop because they didn't. You moved because you couldn't sit still anymore. You created because something inside of you was going to break if it didn't get out. You spoke because your silence became too loud to bear. That's what it means to move without permission. It means you've outgrown the need to be liked. You've shed the weight of comparison. You've made peace with your uniqueness. And you've learned to honor what's in you, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Let them question your process. Let them doubt your path. Let them gossip. Let them laugh. But don't let them stop you. Because they weren't there when you cried in silence. They weren't there when you prayed for a sign. They weren't there when you felt the weight of vision pressing against your chest like a fire you couldn't put out. And if they weren't there for your pain, they don't get to dictate your progress. This is your race. This is your season. This is your moment. And moments like these don't wait for permission, they respond to action. So act like you belong, act like you've been called, act like your presence has weight, because it does. Every room you walk into, you carry something. Every space you enter, you shift something. Every word you speak, you plant something, but only if you stop asking to be allowed to do what you were created to do. The lion doesn't need a memo to roar. The sun doesn't ask the sky if it can rise. And you don't need a panel to validate your power. Walk in it, move in it, own it. And when the resistance comes, because it will, don't fold. Resistance is the sign you're moving in the right direction. Friction is the proof that you're pushing against the grain. That's not a signal to stop, that's a cue to press harder. You don't level up without pressure. You don't grow without pain. You don't rise without opposition. But the ones who understand this, the ones who stop asking for ease and start embracing the challenge, those are the ones who change the world. There are people right now waiting for you to step into who you are. People who will never heal until you speak. People who will never rise until you lead. People who will never see until you shine. But you've got to get over the idea that you're too small, too late, too young, too old, too whatever. You are not too anything. You are exactly what this moment needs. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. But if you keep waiting to be picked, you might miss the opportunity that was only going to knock once. This isn't about ego. It's about obedience. It's about understanding that what's in you was never meant to stay in you, that every delay in your movement is a delay in someone's breakthrough. Every excuse you make becomes a wall someone else can't climb. That's why it's not just about you. It never was. The freedom in your voice is connected to someone's chains. The strength in your hands is connected to someone's weakness. And your willingness to move without permission might be the very thing that gives someone else the courage to do the same. You are not here to fit in. You are not here to play it safe. You are not here to wait for the nod. You are here to break barriers. You are here to disrupt comfort. You are here to lead by example. And the example you set when you step out without waiting, that's the kind of example that shifts generations. That's the kind of movement that lives beyond your lifetime. So decide that you're done asking. Decide that you're done shrinking. Decide that you're done handing over your voice in exchange for comfort. Decide that you will move even when the map isn't clear. That you will go even when the room is empty. That you will speak even when no one claps, because the permission you were waiting for, it was always inside you. It was in your breath, in your vision, in your gift, in your pain, in your fire, and once you realize that, you'll never wait again. This is your time, not because someone said so, but because you decided so. Not because the world opened a door, but because you kicked one open. Not because you were invited, but because you invited yourself. And when you walk with that kind of authority, that kind of knowing, that kind of boldness, the world has no choice but to make room. Because the ones who stop waiting and start moving, they don't just make noise, they make history. So now the choice is yours. Will you keep waiting for someone to tell you you're ready, or will you rise up and walk in what's already been placed inside you? You don't need the crowd, the title, or the green light. You are the green light. Everything you need is already within you: the fire, the vision, the authority, the purpose. It's time to stop shrinking to fit into places you were meant to transform. Stop apologizing for your calling. Stop explaining your boldness. Stop asking for a seat when you were called to build the table. Walk like you've been sent. Speak like your words carry weight. Move like heaven is backing you, because it is. This is your moment. Don't wait for permission. Be the permission.